Hey Melissa, that's a pretty big fluke out there. You got that right. I'm happy to show you how it works though. Let's zoom in a little bit. So here we have to rationalize this denominator. What we're going to do, first things first, let's multiply by the conjugate. Remember the conjugate is what's going on down below, just with the different sign. So here it's 5 plus root 29. So our conjugate is going to be 5 minus root 29. And we're going to do the same thing up top. The reason why we're doing this is because this whole thing in blue equals 1, right? Anything divided by itself equals 1, so we're not changing the amount of this number, we're just expressing it in a way that is rationalized. So let's multiply. Now up top we have a one term multiplied by two terms, so we have 17 times 5, which is going to be 85. And notice what happens here. 17 times negative root 29. Well, the 17 is a whole number. Root 29 is an irrational number. They're two different species of numbers, and they don't really interact. So what happens, this 17 gets multiplied by this negative 1, which we could think of as being right here. Okay? So that's where that comes from. So we have minus 17 root 29. Now there's nothing to reduce here. 29 is a prime number. I can't factor out a perfect square here, so that's all that's going to happen there. Downstairs, we're going to have to FOIL this. So our first terms are going to be 5 times 5, which is 25. Our outside term, 5 times negative root 29, and positive 5 times root 29 are going to cancel. So our middle terms are going to cancel anyway, and we're just left with negative root 29 squared, right? So really what that means is because we're squaring a root, it all kind of cancels anyway, so we could really just think of this as 25 minus 29. Our next step now, we can combine those numbers. That's going to give us a negative 4 down here. And then we have to express this in a way that makes sense. So if we think about this, if we kind of split this, which is, you can do this, we have two terms on the top with a common denominator, I could really see this as 85 over negative 4 minus 17 root 29 over negative 4, right? I just rewrote the same thing in just a different way. So if we kind of figure out what's happening here, well, this is going to simplify to be negative root 80 or negative 85 over 4, and this is going to be a positive because we have two negatives, a negative divided by a negative. Now again, it's not really cool to write it this way, even though we are technically correct right here. If you blast that in, you should be marked correct. Another way to write this, probably the easier way, is just to write the positive term first, right? So let's do that. We could say this is going to be 17 root 29 over 4, well, the whole thing over 4, minus 85, right? So again, it's the same value, same number, I'm just representing it in a different way. Here I just put this back together. The real reason why I only split it was because it just helps me figure out what's going on with the negatives here, which can be tricky for sure. So this is also a correct way to state that answer as well. I hope that helps. And when you're reviewing, if you refresh the page, you should be able just to log back in and just try it again. Let me know how you make out. Send me a picture if it's doing something really weird, but hopefully that helps. All right, take care.